Hello everybody, welcome to our Funny Media YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to look at questions and answers. Now, as the NTC exam approaches, we need to equip ourselves with materials that can help us skill the exam and come out successfully. So, join me as we digest these questions. Welcome to this video. This is part 1 of the questions and answers, and the questions and answers we're going to deal with in this part is numeracy. Alright, now before we start, there are a few points you need to note. 1, all the answers are marked in red. So in each question, the answers are marked in red. 2, I will try to explain some answers that I think are quite tricky and technical. 3, please subscribe to my channel to keep me motivated in doing more videos. Also, click the bell notification icon to get updated anytime I upload. Alright, now you also have to note that the solutions I provide here might be different from what you already know. Alright, now that doesn't mean that what you already know is wrong. No, this is mathematics and there are several ways to solve a particular question. Now, in each instance, we are looking at the time that you need to solve them. You have to consider the time that you need to solve each question. This is objective and you need to solve them as quickly as possible for you to get to the subjective area. All right, so without much further ado, let's just quickly start. Now, this is the first question. All right, and this question I'm not going to explain it, I'm just going to read it, and then the answer is there, it is marked, that's B. So I'm just going to read it and then we continue. Now, students are most likely to be intrinsically motivated to learn and master mathematics when the answer is B, when they believe that the mathematics they are learning is related to their lives. All right, this is more or less like an educational question. All right, where we talk about motivation. All right, so let's jump to the next question. Question number 2. It says study the number of boxes in the patterns below. So we have pattern 1, a box here, pattern 2, another box here, 3 boxes here. Pattern 3 also have boxes here. Pattern 4 boxes here. Now here comes the question. It says if the pattern is extended, how many boxes will be in pattern 7? And these are the possible answers. All right, so this is what I have done here. Now, for me to get this answer, what I did is to represent each of these patterns with a number. All right, I mean the number of boxes. So pattern 1 have 1 box, so I indicate that with 1. Pattern 2 also have 3 boxes, so I indicate that with 3. Pattern 3 has 5 boxes, so I indicate that with 5. Pattern 4 we have 7 boxes, so I indicate that with 7. That is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. All right, now pattern 5, I don't know the number of boxes, so I indicate that with X. Pattern 6 also, I don't know the number of boxes, I indicate that with Y. And then pattern 7, I don't know the number of boxes, so I indicate that with Z. All right, now for me to get it, now I've represented all these boxes with numbers here. Now for me to get the next number, I have to check the differences between each of the numbers. So I'm trying to look for the differences between each of them. So what I did is to take the 3 here, subtract 2 1, this 1 from it, and then the difference is 2. 7 also, I subtract 5 from it, and the difference is 2. All right, so I'm looking at the difference. So this showed me that the difference between each of the numbers, all right, is 2. So this means that at every stage 2 is added to a number to get the next number. All right, so you add 2 to the next to the current number to get the next number. You add 2 to the current number you get to get to the next number. All right, so here you take 1, add 2 to it, you get 3. 3, add 2 to it, you get 5. 5, add 2 to the 5, you get 7. Now 7, you add 2 to it, you are getting 9. All right, so that is what we had here, 9. So when you go the other way, 9, and you subtract 7 from, you get the 2. All right, so 9 also you add 2 to it, you get 11. And the 11 also you add 2 to it, you get 13. So the 9 here is represented by X, and 11 is represented by y, and then z, which is the pattern 7, is represented by 13. So the answer here is 13. All right, so that is it. Now let's move on to the next question. The next question is that a car left in Sawam at 9:45 a.m. It arrived in Kumasi in 3 hours 70 minutes later. Now, what time did the car get to Kumasi? The possible answers are provided here. Now, this is the way I solved this. Now, I decided to take out the times here. So this is what I did. Here I have the car left 9:45 a.m. and it arrived in Kumasi in 3 hours 70 minutes. All right, so what I did was to take my hours out. So I represent it as in hours here and then minutes here. All right, so I took out 9 hours 45 minutes. So 9 is my 9 hours here, and then the 3 hours also is under the hours column. So I have 9, the hours here, and then the minute. So I start adding each of them. All right, so since it arrived in Kumasi in 3 hours 70 minutes, meaning it's added, or it took another time to arrive there. So I need to add up all the times. Okay, so I took the 45 minutes, the 5 here plus the 7, that gives me 12. All right, so 12 here, so 2 here, remainder 1, and then 4 plus 1, which is 5. So 5 plus this 1, that gives me 60. All right, now 60 here, remember that you are still under the minute column. So 60 minutes gives us 1 hour. So automatically the 60 here equals to 1 hour. All right, so the 60 minutes here equals to 1 hour. All right, please don't mind my handwriting here. The 60 here is equals to 1 hour. So therefore I'm going to represent here 0. All right, because this cannot be left blank, so that's going to be 0 here. So that 1 hour is here now, and then we now come to the hours column. We add the 9 to the 3, that is going to give us, we add the 9 to the 3, that's going to give us 12. All right, so 12, then we add the 1, this 1 to the 12, and that should give us 13. All right, so we can have 13. We're supposed to have 13 here and 2 like this. All right, that's what you're supposed to have, 13 and 2. And when you're using the 24-hour clock, you can have 13 represent 1. Okay, 1 p.m. and the moment it crosses the 12 noon, that becomes p.m. Okay, so that is 1 p.m. same as 13. All right, 1 p.m. so that is our answer now is 1 p.m. so the car gets to Kumasi in 1 p.m. all right, so our answer there, when we check, is 1 p.m. This is the answer. All right, let's move on quickly to the next question. The next question is, what is the next term in the pattern below? All right, so we're given a pattern. So what's the next term in this pattern? So we're given 4 minus 4 equals 0, 4 minus 3 equals 1, 4 minus 2 is 2, 4 minus 1, 3, 4 minus 0, 4. Now when we look at here, a number has been repeated. All right, so it means 4 has been repeated, so we can also repeat 4. So we can also repeat 4 here. All right, so we can repeat our 4. Okay, and then another number, then we look at the second number here, line of numbers here. What happened here? We saw that the number continued to increase. It was 4, and it's now 3, it's now 2, it's now 1, it's now 0. So after 0, meaning we should get a negative 1. So since the number is reducing, so we get a negative 1 here. All right, so I'm going to write it here. We have 4 constants, yeah, and then minus, so negative 1. Mind you, the operation here is also repeated. The negative subtraction operation here is also repeated. That's why I brought it here. All right, and then negative 1 is a separate thing here. All right, and then we have our equal sign here that is also repeated. So then we look at our last line of items here. All right, so here also we saw that the number is rather increasing at this side. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the next item? It should be 5. Okay, so our next term is going to be 4 minus -1 equals to 5, and that is true. So we check our possible answers, and this is our answer here. So our answer is this: 4 minus -1 equals to 5. All right, so that is it. Now we can see the next question. The next question said there are P boys and Q girls in a classroom. Each person had 2 textbooks. Which of these expressions represent the total number of textbooks carried to the classroom? All right, so we have we have P boys, and then we have P girls. All right, and each of these girls, each of these students, or each of these people carried 2 textbooks. So the boys carry 2 textbooks, the girls also carry 2 textbooks. All right, so what I did here is this: I took out P boys equals 2 textbooks, Q girls equals 2 textbooks as well. So the total number of textbooks here equals number of textbooks carried by the boys plus number of textbooks carried by the girls. So total number of textbooks is going to be, so the total number of textbooks is going to be 2P plus 2Q. That's 2P representing total number of textbooks carried by the boys. Remember, the boys is what? P, and then the girls is Q. So we have that. So plus the total number of books carried by the girls. So the total number of textbooks is 2. So when we factor out 2, that's the common item here. So when you factor out 2, then we get 2P plus Q. So 2 into bracket P plus Q. So that is our answer here. All right, now please, I know I'm moving very fast. All right, I'm moving very fast. If there's any question that you need further explanation, you can put it in the comment down below, and I'll tend to it as quickly as possible. All right, if you need more explanation, you can draw my attention. I'll attend to them as quickly as possible. Now the next question here is question number 6. All right, we have in a game, Ajua, Ama, and Kofi each had tried 20 times at throwing balls into a basket. I'm taking this again. In a game, Ajua, Ama, and Kofi each had tried 20 times at throwing balls into a basket. The table shows the results of the game. What are the values of A and B in the table? All right, so we have this Ajua here, 10 out of 20. So number of successful shots. So they have 20 times to throw the balls. All right, 20 shots, and then Ajua was able to throw 10. Okay, he got 10 successful. Okay, 10 balls got into the basket, whilst the other 10 didn't get him. And in percentage wise, that is represented as 50%. Okay, and then Ama also, out of 20, Ama got 15 balls successfully into the basket, and then we don't know the percentage that is represented by that 15%, that 15. All right, and then Kofi also, we don't know the number of balls that Kofi had successfully thrown into the basket, but we know that his number of balls that entered the basket is represented by 80%. All right, so we now have to figure out A here and B here. Okay, so the number of shots by Kofi, and then the percentage of successful shots by Ama, we have to find it too. So what I did here is to take this starting from Ajua. So to confirm that what I'm doing is right, I took Ajua's figure, that is 10 out of 20. So 10 divided by total number of times they were throwing the ball, that gives me half, 1/2. So 1/2 times 100, that gives me the 50% here. So that is the same as what she's having here. So that is 50%. That is correct. Excellent. And then when I get to Ama, I took 15% divided by 20. 15% here divided by this 20 here. That gave me A. That should give me, okay, yeah, 15% divided by 20%. That gave me 3/5. Now 3/5 times 100, that will give me his percentage. That is 75%. So A here, because 75%. All right, so okay, yeah, so A here is 75%. All right, now when I get to Kofi, now what I know is that Kofi, using the same methodology, I could say Kofi's number of balls that he got successfully, B over 20, should give me a number times 100%. All right, so yeah, a number times 100%. So B over 20 equals to, it's supposed to give me a number, a fraction times 100% to get the 80%. All right, but then what I did here is to take the 80%. Okay, so since I have already been given the successful number of shots that he got successfully, I took 80% here. So 80%, that's 80 over 100. Okay, 80 over 100 is the 4 over 5 here. So when I reverse that, 80 over 100 times 80 over 100, that is 4 over 5. So 4 over 5 times 100 is the same 80%. All right, so I know very well that 80% in a fraction wise is 4 over 5 times 100. Okay, that is the 80% here. So therefore, what it means is that when I take B over 20 times 4 over 5, doing the cross multiplication here like this, so that's what I did here, cross multiplication here, whereby we take B times 5 and equals 20, B times 5 equals 20 times 4. All right, so B times 5 is 5B here, and then 20 times 4, that is 80. All right, so cross multiplying it will give me this. Now dividing through by 5, dividing through by 5, dividing through by 5 is going to give me B equals to 16. So my B here is 16. So it means Kofi had 16 shots successful. All right, 16 shots, that was successful. Okay, so that is Kofi's shot. So the answer here is B is 16 and A is 75, or that is A 75% and B 16. So the answer is here, C 75 and then 16 for this. All right, so that is it. Now the next question here is, how many degrees does a minute hand of a clock, okay, a minute hand of a clock turn through from 6:20 a.m. to 7 a.m. the same day? All right, how many degrees does a minute hand of a clock turn through from 6:20 a.m. to 7 a.m. the same day? Okay, so what I did here is that I equated, I took 60 minutes. I know very well that on a clock, a wall clock, 60 minutes makes up 360 degrees. So when I have my circle here and I have this, the minute hand traveling from here and back, going all the way and back, is 60 minutes, and that is 360 degrees. All right, so I know that very well. So that the 60 minutes equals to 360 degrees. Now 40 minutes, which is the difference between these two times, because 6:20 to 7 a.m., that is the difference, is 40 minutes. So I'm going to find the 40 minutes. So 40 minutes is x in degrees, so I don't know it in degrees, so I'm going to find this x. All right, so 40 minutes is x. Okay, so what I am going to do here, so what I did here is to cross multiply. So using the cross multiplication like this. Okay, so 60 minutes times x, 40 minutes times 360 degrees. So the 40 minutes here times 360 gave me 14,400. That's 14,400. All right, so when you do it in your calculator, 40 times the 360 will give you 14,400. So after this, then you divide through by 60 here to get the x alone. So dividing through by 60 here, so x will now be equals to 240 degrees. All right, 240 degrees. So the answer there is, so it means the hand clock will run for, so the number of degrees, yeah, it will take 240 degrees for it to run from 6:20 when it's at 20 here. Remember, our 15 is here, so when it's at 20 here, for it to get back to 7 o'clock. So from here, when it's at 20 here, it will run. So 20 will be 4 here, so it will run back here, and it will take about 240 degrees for it to get here. All right, so that is all that that's what it means. So the answer is 240 degrees. All right, so the next question is question number 8. 600 copies of a book have to be packed into boxes. Each box can hold 15 of the books. Which of the following operations could be used to find the number of boxes needed? All right, so we have 600. Okay, let me quickly do that here. 600 books, that's the total number of books that needed to be filled. So I have total so total number of books, that is 600. All right, that have to be packed in a box, into boxes. All right, so each box, a box can take 15 books. Okay, so we want to know the number of boxes that we need for us to pack all this. So if you have 15 going to one box, then it means, obviously it means, for us to get the total number of boxes, we need to divide this 15 by this 600 by 15. All right, so we need to divide this 600 by 15 here. So by 15 here. All right, so the answer is divide 600 by 15. All right, so that is the answer, divide 600 by 15, for us to get the total number of boxes that we need. All right, now to the next question. The next question says, which of the following statements, all right, which of the following statement is or are always true about natural numbers? Okay, so we are talking about natural numbers here. Now the first one is I. All prime numbers are odd. Composite numbers have more than 2 divisors. And the sum of any 2 natural numbers is odd. All right, so let's quickly analyze this. Now all prime numbers are odd. Prime numbers include, so prime numbers P, so even the first prime number that we have makes this false, so this is not true. When we have our prime numbers consist of 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. So this alone, the 2 alone, shows that not all prime numbers are odd. So this is out, meaning this is false. So this is out. So we are looking for a statement that is true. So this is out. Now we're looking at the next one is composite numbers have more than 2 divisors. Now the question is, what are composite numbers? All right, so what are composite numbers? Let's just leave that for the meantime. Let's analyze the third point. The third point said the sum of any 2 natural numbers is odd. So it means when you take 1 plus 2, that is 3. Yes, that is true, odd. When you take 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3, okay, that is 5. Okay, but when you take 2 plus 4, that is 6. Okay, these are natural numbers and they are not giving us odd, so this is also out, this is also false. So the answer here is I. Okay, now before we do this, let me explain what the composite numbers are. They say the composite numbers, let me just clean this to have some space here. Okay, now they say the composite numbers have more than 2 divisors, and that's true. Composite numbers consist of numbers like 4, 6, 8, I think 9. Yeah, so let's just test these numbers. They have more than 2 divisors. Now when we take 4, for example, 4 has 8 factors include 1, 2, and 4 itself. All right, so it has more than 2 devices. Okay, when you take 6, for example, 6 has something like its factors to be 1, 2, 3, and 6 itself. It's more than 2. So this is a composite. These are composite numbers. And then when we take 8, for example, we'll have um, 8. We'll have that 1, 2, 4, and 8 itself. All right. So these are composite numbers. Okay, and we can have as many as them. Please don't mind my handwriting here. I wanted it to seem very I wanted it to be closer to you guys. That is why I didn't write these answers beforehand. So I want us to really understand this very well. So these are composite numbers. All right, and one thing you should know, that all whole numbers apart from 1, okay, apart from 1 in the numbering system, all the whole numbers are either prime numbers or composite numbers. All right, so the prime numbers are not composite numbers. There's no prime number that is a composite number, and there's no composite number that is a prime number. Now when you take, for example, the number 3, which is a prime number, okay, now 3 has factors such as 1 and itself 3. So it means its devices are not more than 2. So this cannot be a composite number. All right, and then when you take 2, for example, 1 and 2, okay, so when you take 5, for example, 1 and 5, there's no other number that can divide 5. All right, okay, without a remainder. Of course, there's no other number that can divide 5 without a remainder. All right, so this is what we mean by composite numbers. Okay, so composite numbers and then prime numbers, the two of them make up the whole numbering system. So a number can either be a prime number or a composite number apart from 1. All right, so that is it. So the answer is I. So it's I only. All right, so that is the answer here, I only. Okay, so that is question number 9. Number 10, a company has 200 employees. 39% of them work in the machine room and 32% are engaged in distribution of goods. How many of the employees are engaged in other duties apart from these two? All right, so they have 200 employees. 39% of these employees are in the machine room, and 32% of these same people employees are in distribution. So we want to know the remainder. All right, the easier way we can equally do this is to, we know this is percentage, okay, and 100% equals to 200 employees. Okay, so when something is 100%, it is full. Okay, so we've already been given 32% and 39%. So to get 100%, all that we need to do is to add up our 39% plus our 32%. Okay, so when we add up our 39% and then our 32%, we have 71%. We need to add up to get 100%. Okay, so when we add up, the difference here is, so 100% minus 71%, and the difference is 29%. So they're asking how many employees are engaged in other duties apart from these two. So 29% here, you strike that on these 200 employees. Okay, so 29% times the 200 will give us the actual number of employees. Okay, so 21% there times the actual number of employees. So that will give us 42. 21%, or 29% rather, 29% times the actual number of employees, that will give us 58. So that will be 58 employees. Okay, so this is our number 58 here. This number here 58. So that's the answer. So another so this one way of doing it, convert just working with the percentages. So we have 32 and 39 together, and then you take it from the 100%. Since 100% is something that is full, so you take it from the 100%. Now 100%, now we get the 29%. Now 29% times the 200, that will give us the actual figure of employees there. Now another way to do is to do the 32% of 200 to get the actual figure, 39% on the 200 to get the actual figure. Whatever you get, you add it to, subtract it from the 200. All right, so let me quickly do that. Okay, another way to do it is to okay, all right, so how to do it here is to do 32%. No. 32% times 200. So the 200 here, so 32% times 200, and then 39% also times the 200. Okay, so whatever we have here will be added together. So 64 here, and then we have here 78. Okay, so these two figures will be added together, and the answer will be 142. So with this 142 will be subtracted from the 200. So we have 200 employees minus 142 employees. Okay, so that will give us 200 employees minus 142. Yeah, that will give us the same answer as this 58. Okay, so when you do it, you take your time and do it, that will give us 58. All right, so the answer is 58. So that's it. And the next question, question 11, if you take away the sum 248.25 and 63.17 from 890.45, what is left? So you add, all that you need to do is to add up these two figures, this plus this, and you subtract the total from this. Okay, so you could do it as no, you can do it like this. We can have our 890 here. Whoa, guys, I'm not really used to writing with this thing here. So 890.445, wow, 45 minus into bracket 248.25. okay, 0.25 plus, all right, 63, wow, 0.17. There's a point here. So you add these two figures and you subtract it from the 890. Okay, and then the answer should be this. All right, so this is the answer, 579.03. okay, so the next question, we have 11 more than 2 times Jonah's age is equal to 59. How old is Jonah? All right, so this is also a word problem. Let's quickly look at it. Now, the way I did this is, I don't know Jonah's age. That is what I'm looking for. How old is Jonah? So I don't know that age. So I represent Jonah's age with X. Okay, now what the statement said is, it said 11 more than 2 times Jonah's age is equal to 59. So he said 11 more than, so 11 more than, so meaning it should be increased. Okay, 11 should be increased. So 11 more than something, that is 2 times Jonah's age, and I know Jonah's age is X. Yes, I represent that with x. So 2 times x. So 11 plus 2 times x should be 59 because it's equal to 59. So doing that, I can get 11 plus 2x equals 59. So 2x, then when we take our 11 across board, we have 59 minus 11, 2x equals to 48. So dividing through by 2, so we have x equals 24. All right, so that is how we're able to get this. Okay, so as I said, first of all, I don't know Jonah's age. I just have to represent it with x, and then I continue with it. All right, so the answer is 24 here, 24 years. So Jonah is 24 years old. Okay, so the next question number 13, is Data recorded a mean score of 24 on 5 tests. Okay, what should she score on the sieve test to bring her mean score up to 26? Okay, you're looking at what she should score on the sieve test to bring her mean score up to 26. All right, so this also needs some small working. Now, first of all, I know that mean, to get the mean, all you need to do is to have total score divided by total number of scores. Okay, total score divided by total number of scores. So I've already been given the first one. I say the first mean previous when she did the test. Okay, so she had 24 with the mean score of 24. So we know that the mean is 24. That's the first instance. Okay, and when the mean score is 24, her total number of tests she took were 5. Okay, so I know the total number of tests she took, which is 5, but I don't know the total score. So I have to look for the total score. So I represent that total score with x here. So therefore, what it means that 24, which is the mean score, equals total score, which I don't know, x, divided by total number of scores, which is 5. All right, so that means I am multiplying through, so meaning 24 times this 5, that gives me 120. So x equals to 120. All right, so I know now the total score that she's having as at the time she took 5 tests. So that is 120. Okay, now the second thing, what should she score on the sieve test to bring her mean score? So on the sieve test, meaning my total number of score is going to be increased to 6. Okay, and then my total score here, which is 120, is also going to be increased by a number. All right, it's going to be increased by a number. So I have 120 plus y. That number is y. I don't know that number, but that number is y for me. So 120 plus y, okay, divided by 6, because she has added another number. So that is number of scores. So plus 6 divided by 6. All right, so doing that, 6 times 26 here, that gives me 126. Then 120 plus y equals 120 plus y. So moving this across board, 156 minus 120, that gives me 36. So the answer there is 36. All right, 36. So guys, as I said, if you don't get any part of this, you can put it in the comment below, and then I'll quickly attend to it and explain it further. Thank you very much. All right, so the answer is 36. The next question is that's question 14. A boy used 2/3 of his weekly savings to buy a textbook. If he realized that he has 10 cedis left, how much was the weekly savings? All right, this is question number 14. Okay, so the boy used 2/3 of his weekly savings to buy a textbook. If he realized that he has 10 cedis left, how much was the weekly savings? All right, so I don't know his weekly savings, so I'll say his weekly savings is x. Okay, so since his weekly savings is x, all that they are saying that he used 2/3 of this weekly savings. Okay, 2/3 of this weekly savings to buy a textbook, and then the balance now is 10. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to form an equation from this. So 2/3 of this weekly saving plus the balance he's left with should give me his total savings, which is x. That is all that it means. 2/3 of his weekly savings plus this balance should give me his total weekly savings, which is x. All right, so when I do this, multiplying through by 3, I have 2x plus 3 times 10, that is 30, equals to 3x. Okay, so 30 here equals to 3x minus 2x. That will give us x. So our answer here is this. All right, it's 30. So it's 30 there. Okay, so the next question here we have here, some pages in a book on a bookshelf are missing, so that page 21 is now followed immediately by page 43. How many pages are missing? All right, so we're supposed to have page 21. So we were having page 20 here. Okay, page 21 is supposed to continue, but then since page 21, just after page 21 we have page 43. So how many pages are in between page 21 and page 43? All right, so you have to count the pages between that. Now the trick here is you might be tempted to subtract 21 from 43. Yes, 21 from 43, which will give you an answer that is there, but that isn't the correct answer, because that will give you 22. If you subtract 21 from 43, that will give you 22. But then try counting right from in between 21 to 43, and then you will see that the answer is 21. Okay, so when you count from just after 21, so you start 22, so meaning page 22 is missing, page 23 is missing, page 24 is missing. So you count from 22 to 42. All right, so 22 to 42, then 22 to 42, then you know very well the answer will be 21. So the answer there is 21. So 21. All right, so this is what I have for you guys. So we'll stop here, and this is the part 1 of this, and then I'll come back. This is 15 questions, so I'll come with the next 15 questions, and then we'll move on to the subjective aspect where we'll solve the question, and then after that, then we jump to the other aspects of the NTC examination. Right, thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. Please, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe and hit the bell notification to get updated of any new video that I upload, and please do well to share this video. I would really appreciate it. I want you guys to share this video for each and every NTC guy, any candidate going to write this exam should also get to benefit from this video. And see you in my next video.